Hello and welcome to the Campfire podcast. Today it is me, Parker, Owen, and Vlad. And our sponsor for today's video is our merch store. Freaking air horn noises. Yeah. So if you could, there you go. If you could use the link in the description to go to our Teespring store and maybe pick up a shirt, we would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Today's episode is a bit different. As you can see, there are less people, of course, which sucks, but we're living. People are doing Coolidge.
We gotta make do with what we got.
Amen, brother. But yeah, today we ironically have an actual topic for this episode, which we don't really do a lot around here.
Oh my god. And what could that be, Parker?
The topic for today's episode is origins and origin stories. In our Discord server, one of our fans, I guess, put in the suggestions. I know we have those. Put in the suggestions area just the word origins, and it kind of intrigued me because I had no idea what that meant. So I decided to take it upon myself to spend an entire day researching origins and in turn origin stories of humanity itself. And I actually found some very interesting stuff.
Okay. Let's see it.
So.
Or you ready? Whatever we gotta do.
So the definition of the word origin is the point or place where something begins, arises, or is derived. Right? So an origin.
Oh, you're talking about the point, not the eye.
What?
It sounds like you're talking about like what is it, the math term?
No. Like a point in time.
Oh, you're talking about
you know, like that's just the base definition.
Okay.
That's just the base definition.
Okay.
You know, the point or place
Okay.
where something begins, arises, or is derived. So that doesn't necessarily mean like a physical place. It could be a time period or something like that. You know, something along those lines. And the reason that we study the origin of humans is because it helps us understand who we are and how we fit in, right? Because, you know, humans are one of the only, well, not one of, they are the only species scientifically proven to ask the question why. We are so intellectually advanced that we want to know why things are. We are very big brain. But like, you know, a mouse doesn't ask why it's in a maze and why there's cheese. It just goes to the cheese.
A mouse doesn't go up to you and say.
It
mouse
doesn't
go up to you in the middle of the night and say, "Hello, chat. Why am I in the maze?"
That is true. It just goes through the maze. It doesn't question.
It's definitely not British.
It doesn't question why it's in the maze. And so as humans, our natural instinct is to ask the question why. So, origin stories were created to help explain the answer to the question why. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So, throughout history, there have been many different origin stories of how the world came to be formed. Yeah, the myth and the story of creation is a staple part of all of the world's religions. Whether it's Judaism, Christianity, the worship of Greek and Roman gods, Norse mythology, all of these different religions and religious sects, right? So they all have a different interpretation of the origin of the earth and, in succession to that, the origin of mankind. So I just want to, explain a couple, just to, get the picture in your head. So Judaism and Christianity follow sort of the same story. In the Bible, Judaism uses, the Torah, which is basically Christianity's Old Testament. So they both have the book of Genesis. And in Genesis, God, this all-powerful being, takes 6 days to create the heavens and the earth and, all the animals and all that good stuff. And on the 7th day, he rests. And then, after that, he creates mankind. First, Adam from the dirt, and then Eve from Adam's rib. Which I know is weird, but that's what the story goes. And so, that's like the little thing that Christians and Jewish people believe, right? God created the heavens and earth, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Then there's the Greeks and the Romans, right? So Gaia is Mother Earth, and she creates her, I guess, husband, Uranus. You can laugh.
I'm sorry.
I know.
Somebody said
No, so she creates Uranus to kind of cloak herself in. I don't fucking know. No. She creates Uranus as like the sky or whatever and uses it to cloak herself. Which I know doesn't make much sense, but And then, they have...
She used Uranus to cloak herself.
Oh my god, just listen. So, she creates him, and together they make the Titans, and, there's a lot of wars because gods suck. And, from the Titans we get the Greek and Roman gods, and they end up fighting the Titans in this big war. And then they, what's it called? They then, afterwards, create, man as a little science experiment. Just 'cause. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but that's what happens. And then Hinduism is, in my opinion, a little bit similar to Judaism and Christianity's belief of, the creation of the world in the book of Genesis. It says that, what's it called? That originally their belief was that a being known as, I'm sorry if I butcher this, Purusha possessed 1,000 heads, eyes, and feet. He, enveloped the earth, extending beyond it by the space of 10 fingers, which I guess he had really big fingers. When the gods sacrificed this guy, his body made like a kind of butter or whatever, which, made birds and animals, and his body parts were transformed into the world's elements, and 3 of their gods, Agni, Vayu, and Indra, and they also made the 4, I really hope I'm pronouncing everything very wrong, because that would be funny. They also made 4 castes, I don't know, of Hindu society, were created from his body. The priests, warriors, general, populace, and the servants. And then later in history, it sort of got changed to a trinity similar to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in Christianity. Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. And it said that Brahma created the universe, which lasts for one of his days, or 4.32 billion years. So that's how much time we got, kids, according to Hinduism.
We're gonna die, yay.
Not for another couple billion years, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh, nards.
Then in Japanese culture, they believe that God, this faceless being, created two siblings, Izanagi and Izanami. They populated the earth and created the land. So they were similar to, the whole Adam and Eve situation kind of thing going on.
They weren't made out of body parts.
That is true. In Chinese culture, they said that there was a cosmic egg, and inside the cosmic egg was the yin and the yang. So the yin is the earth, and the yang is the sky. And so they in their culture, they believe that Pangu was the first of, the beings in the world. And
Pangu?
Pangu.
No.
Yep. And so fearing that the parts might reform into the yin and the yang, he stood upon the earth and held up the sky. So that's kind of neat. And they have two explanations of how humans came to be in part of this. Some people say that the fleas on him became humans, but other people believe that the goddess Nuwa was lonely, so she fashioned men out of mud from the Yellow River. These humans made her happy, but they took really long to make, so she kind of just yeeted muddy droplets all over the earth, each one becoming a new person. And so those droplets became the commoners, with the earlier ones that took more time to make becoming the nobles. So that's kind of interesting.
So we're mud?
According to Chinese culture, yes. In Egypt,
Hell yeah.
Egyptian culture, they believe that there were like, what's it called? There was, I don't know, just chaotic waters or whatever, like just this like big ball of water is what Earth was, and they called it Nu. So it was the chaotic waters of Nu, and the god Atum willed himself into being. Well, actually themself, because Atum is genderless, and possesses an all-seeing eye, which is kind of interesting. So when Atum, brought themselves into being, they created a hill for them to stand on, just 'cause, and soon after spat out their son Shu, god of the air, and vomited up their daughter Tefnut, goddess of moisture.
Tefnut, goddess of moisture.
You're gonna be hearing nut in a little bit. So those two,
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
those two were given the task of creating, order out of this chaotic world, right? And so together, they made Jeb, which is the earth, and Nut, the sky. Yeah. So it says that they were like entwined, but Jeb lifted Nut.
Nut was entwined.
Jeb lifted Nut above him, therefore creating, the earth and the sky respectively. And And Shu and Tefnut became lost in the remaining darkness of the world, which is kind of sad.
Wait, so
Um,
hold on, Parker, real quick. I'm sorry,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. So we were made from nut, right?
no,
Yeah, we were. How do you get what?
not according to Egyptian mythology. Let me continue, sir. Um,
Okay. Sorry, I
so,
thought we were all made of
so,
nut.
so Atum sent out their all-seeing eye. Don't know how, but they sent it out there to find their kids. And when they got back, he reinserted the eyeball and cried tears of joy. And where the tears struck the earth, that's how men came to be.
Oh.
So I know that was a bit
So
of
there's one
a
thing where we were made of mud droplets, and then this one we were made
made
of
tears. Yeah, yeah. So I know that was a bit of a longer one, but kind of needed that. This one's also going to be a little long, but that's just because it's Norse mythology, and I actually kind of enjoy Norse mythology.
Okay.
So,
Is that 4?
yes. Not the one from the movies.
Damn it!
The one from Norse
Go
mythology
ahead. Go
is a redhead and, like, fat. He's nothing like the superhero.
So this is Endgame
But
4, but redhead.
yeah, more or less. So
That's cool.
according to Norse mythology, before there was the Earth, or Midgard in Norse mythology, there was Muspel, the land of fire, guarded by the sword-wielding Surt, or Surtur, as you might also know him. Then there was this one's probably my favorite of the 9 realms, Ginnungagap. No, I did
I'm
not
sorry,
just have a
what?
stroke.
Did you say Gnungagap?
That is exactly what I just said.
Gnungagap.
I did not have a stroke. That is what it
Gnungagap.
is. So that's the Great Void.
Oh.
And then there was Niflheim,
Oh.
which is the frozen land of ice, also known as Greenland. No, I'm kidding. So where the cold of Niflheim touched the fires of Muspel, there rose a giant called Ymir and a cow. Just those 2 things.
The cow.
A cow and a giant. Don't question it.
Yo, he
So-
did. Yo, he did.
So when they, kind of appeared, the cow licked like these blocks of like salted ice or something, and that brought forth Bori, which is like the original god, and then he gave, created Bor or something, who is the father of Odin, Vili, and Ve, which are, the first 3 gods. Odin the All-Father and all that garbage. So the 3 of them rose up and killed Ymir, and from his corpse created the earth. So from his flesh sprang the earth, the mountains are his bones, and trees are his hair, and then the rivers, seas, and lakes are his blood. So that's a cheery picture. And within Ymir's hollowed out skull, the gods created the starry heavens. Doesn't that sound wonderful?
Oh.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I love mountains made out of bone.
That's great. Yeah.
So, what do you guys think after hearing about all those stories? Did you pick up on any like similarities or anything you think was interesting?
I think what is it, the Chinese and the one with the mud and the one with the rain sound kind of similar because like
Yeah.
they were both made of drops or something.
Yeah, that was
Mm-hmm.
Chinese culture
Uh,
and Egyptian culture.
oh,
Was
okay.
those two?
Yeah, and the nut dude sounded pretty cool. Okay.
I
Oh,
mean,
and you want to say anything?
And I mean, it was interesting. I think that like the fact that you did so much research on this
I'm not
was
done yet.
insane.
Oh yeah, that is
Like
impressive.
No, I'm not even
more
done
like an
yet.
overload.
No, I'm still going,
That's
man. I got
impressive,
more.
though. Yeah.
I got more. I'm telling you,
I think you're gonna go.
I spent the entire day researching this.
I know I'm
Alright.
gonna go visit my roommate. I want to go back.
It's
to
okay. I
work,
can still
so-
stay here. I can still bring it on.
No, that's fine.
I'll see if I can continue it.
I got you, homie.
It's okay, Ellen. Me and Parker can continue this.
Yes.
All right, I'm ready when you are, Parker.
Okay, so I think something kind of interesting is that most religions believe that one being is like the one that brought the beginning of the earth and mankind. It always starts with a singular being that then creates a couple beings or whatever. But like, I just found that kind of interesting. You know.
That is pretty
And then
interesting. Yeah.
and then I think you know what scientists believe as the creation of the universe, right? So I'll just say it a little bit.
The Big Bang.
The Big Bang. So it was a black inky darkness. Kind of exploded out of nothing, and now we're something. So
Somebody nutted in
that's where it is.
everything in the life.
So I have a couple questions. Which one do you think is true? To go along with that, do you think any of them are true? The stories.
How we were made?
Yeah. Do you think
True.
any of them are true?
I mean, it's really, really hard to tell unless you were there.
It
But
is. It's
nobody
a
was
tough
there.
question. No, I completely agree. It is a tough question,
Nobody
and
was
that's why people study these books and these cultures to try and figure this stuff out. Yeah.
But there is one. I think the Big Bang thing is the one that I believe the most.
Yeah.
The inky darkness, and then one proton and neutron or whatever the hell is.
Yeah. No, I got you.
But
No, I
don't
don't
get me
know.
started on human evolution, because that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
I could get into monkeys for hours, man.
Yeah. So I had another question to go along with it. You don't need to answer this one because it doesn't necessarily have to do with origins and origin stories, but it's something I was thinking about while researching this. How is it that Earth is the only planet that we've found so far that can sustain life? Like, it feels like that's not like a one-time thing, you know? Like, I feel like we shouldn't be that lucky. You know what I mean?
I feel like there are other planets out there with. Honestly, I feel like there are other planets with different inhabitants on there out there.
Yeah.
Like the other galaxy.
No, I totally agree. I think it's, something
I
interesting
really don't think we're
to
alone.
ponder. Like, are we
But
really...
It is crazy to
alone?
think that. Yeah, are we like really alone?
Yeah.
Because for years we haven't seen much because our technology can only go so far. But what day? How do you think the world would react, and all the different cultures would react if one day we did get some form of a response from a different civilization or different being from like far beyond the cosmos? What do you think? How do you think everybody would react?
I think the world would go crazy. I honestly do. I think people would go nuts. There would be riots in the street. People would be looting. It would be chaos. It really would. Because no one is prepared for that. We're not prepared for that.
True.
But back
I
to the
think we've been a lot when the entire life is for
yeah.
good.
But back to the topic of origin stories, because I feel like aliens and conspiracy theories and all that could be a topic for another episode all by itself.
True.
But origins and origin stories, they're critical to understanding who we are. You know, like I said earlier, humans are the only creatures, the only living beings that ask the question of why. Why are we here? Where did we come from? Why were we created? And it
True.
to some researchers, it seems to imply that we are uncomfortable with our own skin. We're lost, you know? We don't know why we're here, and we don't know if we really truly belong. And so I think the different origin stories from either all of the religions or scientifically, I think they help to cement us in reality and show us that we do have purpose, that we were meant to be created for a reason.
Agreed. That actually, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and
Makes sense.
you know, stories just in general, they tell us who we are and where we're from. They show us, how much things have changed and how lucky we are for what we have right now and for the time we're living in. I mean, right now is the most technologically advanced that we have ever been as a society. And, we rely so heavily on technology that if we lived in a different time, we would not be able to survive. So we truly are lucky to be alive right now when we have all of this stuff that, we can use as entertainment and, to just make us happy. And stories, help us to remember the past and to see how different it is. Stories bring us together. They help to give people something to talk about, to you know to share their opinions on, like movies and TV shows, and even books, and audio dramas. There's so much stuff that is story related.
Has it better.
And it's something that brings us together as a society. And stories, no matter who tells them, they all come from somewhere. Somebody didn't just create the Bible out of nowhere. Like, I feel like all religious books have to have some truth in there somewhere. It might not all be true, but it's got to come from some kind of, place in reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, people can be really good storytellers, but something, as specific as that, it's
Get
gotta,
very far. Yeah.
yeah, it's gotta come from somewhere, and you have to make people believe it too. I mean,
True.
Stories can have a lot of power, especially ones that involve the origin of mankind, because we are so focused on trying to figure out what the why is. So if you have any more questions, or you want to explore this on your own, I am putting a bunch of links in the description of my research tools that I used while finding information for this episode. So if you want to, read up on your own or follow along with what I just talked about, then feel free to use those links in the description to go check out those articles. And I think I put in 2 TED Talks as well, talking about the importance of origin stories and also the history of the entire world. Also, don't forget to follow the link in the description to our merch store on Teespring. We would really appreciate it.
Get to join our Discord.
And also join our Discord. All of that information is in the description for our YouTube listeners, because we are working on getting this podcast on Spotify. That's right, we're going to be having this podcast on Spotify for you to listen to while you're driving or on a walk or just going about your everyday life, and you don't want to have to worry about your phone turning off in the middle of watching. So, hopefully we will be able to have that soon, but for now we will be sticking to the YouTube format going forward. Anything to add while we finish off this episode, Vlad?
Enjoy life while you can. Make the most of it. Don't be an idiot. We're thinking, drink Capri Suns. That's all I'm gonna say.
I agree with that statement. Capri Sun slaps. But don't forget to stay curious. Don't forget to stay curious. Ask the questions nobody's asking. And we will see you guys in the next one.